On January 25th, 2023, Vilnius celebrated its 700th birthday. It was a huge celebratory event which included a light show and a concert. 700 years is a long time, and I feel lucky to have had the opportunity to be in the city to witness this big and important birthday celebration. So, I've lived in Vilnius for almost 3 years now, and this YouTube channel has been up for just over 1 year. One thing I've heard from a number of Lithuanians visiting the capital city is how much they hear the Russian language being spoken around them. It's these comments, combined with a few YouTube commenters telling me that Vilnius isn't an accurate reflection of Lithuania, that gave me the idea for the topic of today's video. How Vilnius is the most and the least Lithuanian city at the exact same time. So this video will divide into two basic parts. First, why Vilnius is a very Lithuanian city, and then why people would say that it isn't. So I think in terms of power and politics, the capital city of Vilnius is at the heart of Lithuania. The city, in terms of administration and international relations, represents Lithuania. It's where the government and elected officials perform their duties of developing laws and policies that shape the entire country. It's where the head offices of all major government ministries are located. Vilnius is also the most populous city in Lithuania, now with around 600,000 residents. Considering the country's population is less than 3 million, then about 20%, or every fifth person in Lithuania, lives in the capital city. So, whether or not you think Vilnius culture and life is reflective of Lithuania, the daily life experiences of many people living in the country are tied to this one city. Indeed, many big things that happen in Lithuania happen in Vilnius. On the other hand, though, it would seem that there are many more reasons for why Vilnius is less representative of Lithuania. We can first start with the basic argument you'll find all around the world. The biggest cities, or the most well-known cities, aren't representative of the entire country. Neither Washington, D.C., nor Los Angeles, nor New York are accurate representations of average American life. Paris is different from what you'll experience in other parts of France, and London is very different from other parts of England. Even with my home country of Canada, I'm sure many would agree that its largest city, Toronto, isn't an accurate reflection of average Canadian life. And so I think it's the same with Vilnius and Lithuania. I think it's something you'll find common among most economic or political capitals. Their size and status tend to attract a diversity of people, even from outside the country. And so big cities can be quite international. While Vilnius might not be as multicultural as, say, London, it's still home to people from a variety of backgrounds. This is a result of a few things, including the fact that Poland occupied and took control of Vilnius from 1920 to 1939, and the Soviet occupation from 1940 to 1991. These events have left Polish and Russian communities across parts of Lithuania, including Vilnius. According to census data from 2011, 16.51% of Vilnius's population at the time identified as Polish. For Russians in Vilnius, that number is 11.9. Add these two numbers up, and you see that in 2011, almost a third of Vilnius's population was made up of Poles and Russians. I know the data is old, but they're quoted in 2019 documents published by the Department of National Minorities. If anything, it could be argued that Vilnius has become more international since that 2011 census. Since more foreigners have been migrating to the city and many refugees have been fleeing Ukraine, especially over the past year. And just like those Lithuanians I talked to have said, if you're walking down a street in Vilnius, there's a good chance you'll hear a language spoken that isn't Lithuanian. And if you're getting into a Bolt taxi, there's also a good chance it won't be a Lithuanian driver. Perhaps because of this diversity, you may not get a good sense of what Lithuania is, or who Lithuanians are. But if that's the case, then where should you go? Well, if you believe the claims of a few websites, then Kaunas is considered the most Lithuanian city. Adventures.com makes this claim because it says that Kaunas is the, quote, historical capital of Lithuania and is alive with the myths of real and imaginary nationalism. A few other sites also connect Kaunas with being the most Lithuanian city in Lithuania, and that residents are very proud of its Lithuanianness. It's an interesting claim, and one that doesn't really have super hard facts to support it. perhaps other than the fact that it's less diverse than Vilnius. But do let me know if I'm wrong. My wife grew up in Kaunas, so I asked her about the association between the city and being known as the most Lithuanian. She tells me that the reference is quite commonly known, but isn't sure about its origin. But to add to the claim, she says that growing up in the city, she would really only hear Lithuanian spoken wherever she went. On the school playground, on the streets, at the store, even people who had Russian last names would speak Lithuanian. Well, from her experience anyways. But of course, I could be missing something, and so if you can tell me why Kaunas is considered the most Lithuanian city in the country, please leave it down in the comment section. But ultimately, I think there is one big problem with this whole debate. Identifying what does and doesn't represent Lithuania is tricky. And we would have to first know what it means to be Lithuanian, right? To answer that question, I think fluently speaking Lithuanian without any accent is probably one of those key ingredients to Lithuanianness. In addition to this, following long-standing Lithuanian traditions, customs, and etiquette will obviously add to one's measure of being Lithuanian. I do also feel that one's sense of Lithuanianness is still tied to race, and that race being, well, white or Caucasian. While many major Western countries have had over a century of open migration from all over the world, Lithuania hasn't exactly been that same sort of destination. So while someone with African or Asian ancestry can be born in Canada and considered Canadian without question, I don't think it would be the same in Lithuania. Although, please do correct me if I'm wrong.
This is a British passport. You're obviously not British.
Yeah, I am.
Well, we'll see about that. Taj Mansour. Right. Where were you born?
Bradford.
All right. Where were your parents born?
Oh, sorry. Sheffield.
All right. Where were their parents originally from?
Pakistan.
Pakistan. We're getting somewhere. Right.
And I get the sense that you'd get the same sentiment with non-Japanese people growing up in Japan or non-Arabs being raised in a country like Kuwait. But anyways, to pull these thoughts together, the argument could definitely be made that Vilnius isn't as Lithuanian as other cities in the country, even if it is the political capital of Lithuania. But if that's the case, I guess I'll just have to go on a search to find what actually is the most Lithuanian city in Lithuania. But what do you think about Vilnius? Is it a good representation of Lithuania? And if not, then what part of the country would you say is the most Lithuanian? Leave a comment and let me know.